I've always naturally been really, really competitive, like whether it's sports, whether it's Mario Kart, whether it's a random thing at work or I got to sell more than other people. I always enjoy sports. I always enjoy some kind of competition. I usually get kind of counted out a little bit. I feel like when I first start with at a new program or if I'm starting at a new team or playing against another team, they definitely kind of see me as no like threat off the rip. And then once I play for an hour or so, if it's a practice or play for 5 minutes in a game, they kind of realize like, okay, this guy we have to kind of like play against him. So the thing about water polo is there's a very much like above the water and a below the water game. Below the water, there's a lot more, dirty tactics going on. The refs can't see it. There's a lot of like pulling, there's kicking, sometimes punching here and there, which makes it way more fun in my opinion. Playing it since I was an eighth grader. It was my first year. I was absolutely terrible. I had no endurance. I had no skill at all. I swam a little bit, so that was about it. Freshman year was pretty bad. Started getting a little better going to my sophomore year of high school, and that's when I started to really enjoy the sport, really started playing it more often, really enjoyed the aspect of it. I actually started like, oh, you can actually, throw people underwater a little bit. You can't really, you're not always going to get called out for it. So it was pretty fun. I really liked it. I really enjoyed playing in college through GVSU. That was really fun. That was definitely the most fun I've had. We've beaten Notre Dame a couple times, which is really cool. We've beat Illinois State University. We almost beat Michigan one time. We lost by 1 goal against them. It was a really fun game. There was more competition. I think there's more rivalry, which is always really fun in sports. The most common question with the kids in my age range at that point was, "Oh, why'd you lose your leg?" They're very blunt, very quick about it. I'm like, "Oh, well," and I made it fun. I always said, "Oh, I lost to a shark attack," or like eventually I started changing when I started getting a little older. If little kids asked me, "Oh, I need my vegetables," that was a good one too. My parents started noticing around like the time when I started walking. They kind of noticed, okay, there's a lot of issues with his walking. He's limping.
And so when they bring him in, they did an x-ray to see if he had any issue with his hip. And then the radiologist or the provider doctor called us back and said to my wife and I, she was in the hospital at the time. I was home with Kyle then. And she was like, and then the radiologist was like, "Are you sitting down?" And we're like, "What?" And he said, he's got this bone disorder and it could be throughout his whole body.
They were running some tests and everything, and after a while, they realized I have Ollier's disease. It's a disease that prevents my femur from growing as long as fast as my right leg. I had a lot of procedures for bone lengthening. The first two that I did were external fixators. Basically, what they do is they break the bone in half. They take 3 pins from the top part of the femur and then 3 pins in the bottom part of the femur to hold it still, and then it holds on the outside of the body. And then 4 times a day, what you do is you take a little crank and you do basically 90-degree turn on the crank, and it separates the bone by like 1/4 of a millimeter every time.
But the worst part was, think about if you have anything in your skin wants to close around it and heal. And so the skin would want to heal around that pin. So every night we had to take iodine swabs, these big old swabs you get, you open each one and you have to clean around each one. And to do that, you basically push the skin away from the rod. And so it doesn't stick to it and you keep that clean because that's the site of it where you can get infection. And every night he would hold his crucifix for him to, and we go, okay, there's 6 of these. Which one do you want to do first? So he'd say, okay, let's do this one first. And so we'd clean that. And then there was always probably 2 or 3 of them, about half of them, that were really bad. And he'd be clutching his crucifix, just praying and getting him through the pain. of pulling, you think about like pulling your skin away from something that is stuck to and doing that every single night. You know, as hard as it was for him, for us, we're like causing him pain, even though we have to do it.
It was just hard for me to get used to like the really weird looks that kids would give because kids my age, they wouldn't really look at me too much. They would only look at my leg.
So at 5, he gets a prosthetic, and we're showing him these prosthetics, and you can get them all flesh colored, and they look as much like his own skin, and they can make it kind of the same color. And we're like, you know, hey, what do you want? Because, you know, at this point, we're like, you get to decide. But my wife was great because she said, you're going to have a robot leg.
What we don't often think about being able-bodied is that it's not a prosthesis for them. That's an extension of who they are.
If anybody had the mentality to play football, it was him. He loves the physicality. That's why he loves water polo and playing the position that he does. Nobody can understand how he can do it.
Typically, when we think about how a person's balanced on the water playing water polo, they have both legs. And so that's 2 legs of the tripod. And then they can use their non-shooting arm. So that becomes kind of the 3rd leg of that tripod. And so for him, he's got a shorter lever on there. Super challenging. I can't imagine doing that, but he has found ways to adapt, certainly.
I have this prosthetic which has Rainbow Six Siege on it, which is a game I currently play. And I've had this leg for I think about 5-6 years now, so it's been a while since I've had it.
At concerts, he's waving it in the air. We go to a football game, and he's waving it for the Jumbotron. He's having people at his 21st birthday party doing shots out of his leg up on stage. He just has fun with it, and that's him.
I'll put up to the face cam and like, all right guys, leg check. But yeah, I've been only streaming for like, it took about a year to really, really get into it. I like watch YouTube. I watch people like live stream, stuff like that. I think watching those kind of, like for me when I was a kid, it was something that got my mind off of a really bad situation I was in of like, oh, I couldn't really move off my couch. I couldn't move off my bed. And I think during that, I think it really gave me like a lot of like respect for people who do content creation.
I think his inspiring and entertaining people just comes naturally, and his story and the way his attitude is about things is the inspiring point.
There's a motto that was by Oliver Wendell Holmes that they like to live by. It's all limitations are self-imposed, which I think is really, speaks volumes to people who do have disabilities such as myself, who can still, find normal in an abnormality. I wouldn't change anything with my disability. Learning from all my experiences and playing from a level that I had my disability and still excelling at the sport, it's way more fulfilling to me. Everything happens in life for a reason. If I had my leg, I could have played football, could have had a horrible injury, been paralyzed or something. Because I know I would have played another sport if I had another leg. I think I've overcome a lot of things, and a lot of people kind of see me for, I don't make my leg my entire personality, but I make jokes about it. I make people comfortable around me because I feel like a lot of people, when they see somebody with a disability, they can be uncomfortable. For me, it's kind of led myself and other people to see that, okay, people with disabilities aren't somebody that you can just always count out. They really apply themselves. They really can be as good or if not better than other people.